Young man goes into the drugstore to buy condoms. The pharmacist asks how many he needs. Well, I've been seeing this girl for a while now, and she is hot. I think tonight's the night. We're having dinner with her parents, and then we're going out, and I have a feeling I'm going to get lucky after that. So can I get 10? Later that very same evening, he sits down with his girlfriend and her parents and asks if he may give the blessing, to which they agree. He begins the prayer, but continues praying for several minutes. The girl leans over to him and says, "You never told me you were such a religious person." The boy then proceeds to lean over to her and says, "You never told me your father was a pharmacist."
I just want, okay. Okay. I don't know where the hell I was, that I've never heard that joke until you said that.
What makes this whole situation better is the fact that Miguel's fucking laugh just sounds like some shit out of like an old 1900s fucking cartoon.
Mother.
Like, bro, I was about to be like, got him, and then that fucking laugh, dude, every time just gets me, and I can't, just couldn't get a fucking word out.
I mean, give me a break. I have a high pitched voice.
I know.
Fucking balls never dropped.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, that's okay. You can have big balls and a tiny penis like me. You know, it's great. Love it.
Oh my god. That's gonna be the headline. Freaking podcast gets canceled like not even 5 minutes into the episode.
Bro, I'll be sitting there like fucking playing big balls. But wait, is it AC/DC or no, wait? Yeah, is it AC/DC? Now I'm fucking curious. Now, damn it!
Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up real quick. In the meantime, would you like to do the introductions?
Yes, I got it. It was AC/DC. I called it. Ha! Got him. Fucking. I got big balls. Okay. Anyways, I'm done. I apologize. Welcome in, everybody. How's it going? It's been a minute, obviously. I'm Laine. I'm Laine Colins. Good to see y'all again. Today, we got Miguel Perez, obviously. And then we also got our special guest, fucking David, in the house. Let's go. Well,
great to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah.
Yo, here we are. We finally grabbed another person to share the shenanigans with. Another person that'll carry out the legacy of the Just the Vibes podcast. I can even consider it a legacy. I like how it literally just
legacy, man.
Hard work pays off. Don't let anybody else tell you that.
Exactly, man. Or you could always be like the Inquisition, you know, spread your beliefs worldwide, spread it all throughout.
Exactly.
Man, I ain't gonna be no activist. Hell no. Those guys are so annoying.
I agree, man. I agree. Somewhat, yeah.
Or I mean, come on, we can all we'll become Jehovah's Witnesses.
You can't even talk, man. You just
I can't, bro, dude. I'm sitting here like, bro, you know what? I'm gonna just die now. I'll see you guys later.
Please don't die.
Have you heard of our Savior? You know, your car's extended warranty.
Oh shit! No, not again! Or fucking, oh no, guys, I'm coughing. Oh god, it's COVID. Oh, it's come back.
Oh my god.
And then just perfectly cut scream right there.
I don't know why, but I was thinking of a JoJo meme. You know, roundabout when it ends, to be continued. Like,
oh no, yeah.
I would play the song right now, but we ain't trying to get no. We ain't trying to pay no fine. You're just gonna have to deal with the humming.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, David.
Hello, my name's David, of course. I I am a huge nerd. If anybody has a problem with that, hopefully not at all.
We love it.
I love wrestling. I love horror movies. I love movies in general and stuff, and comic books even. I can basically like chill with anybody, fit in. I try to provide some laughs. Have a little bit of fun, even though it's kind of nonsensical or a little bit out there. But hey, the best people are, right?
Exactly. There you go.
True words have never been said on this podcast.
Honestly. Well, with that being said, what would you like to talk about first, David, since you're the special guest?
Okay,
giving
actually,
all right.
before we do that, there's something that I gotta ask. Who, since you mentioned something about wrestling, who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Okay. All right. Growing up, everybody, personal wise, they know the answer already. I'm sure Laine does. It has to be the Undertaker, man. It has to be the Undertaker. I've always been like captivated by his like presence and like his mystique. A little bit of a touching feeling, sentiments right now. I was trying to find those words. Some sentimental value that really got me into wrestling was my papaw. My papaw Welch, I would call him. He passed away this past year, and he was the one who got me into wrestling. Um, I would always go up to his house every single week watching Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and SmackDown was my favorite because I always was just like glued to the screen when the Undertaker would come on. That was my life, man. So that he would definitely be the top of the list for me right there.
Wow, that is a great explanation. Sorry to hear about your loss, by the way.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I've been dealing with it and stuff, but I always like to think about like watching wrestling. Every time I watch wrestling, I know that he's right there with me, and I'm hoping to like honor him in my everyday life. I'm going to college soon to do psychology, so I hope to make him proud there.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
And
Yeah,
I've been
that's
cutting you off for a second.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say that's what matters most. And as far as the Undertaker goes, the fact not only has he done this for 30 years, over 30 years with WWE alone, never gone to another company, nothing, always WWE, 100% all the way through. I remember the times when the rumors that were going around with him going to AEW. I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just not a good idea. Just finish out your career, bro. That's all you got to do. Just finish it out and we'll all die happy. But, and I just mean more just towards like, just stick with the company that you started out with, man. The one company that's like treated you the best and giving you all this time and opportunity, just finish it out. Finish it out that way. But just like his professionalism and that sort of thing, I've watched documentaries about The Undertaker before. Watching like the Last Ride documentary, that was really entertaining to watch for sure. Did you guys are into the Hot Ones show on YouTube, right?
Yeah, but I haven't
little
caught
bit
up
of
to
it.
any of the episodes.
Oh man, you have to watch the Undertaker's episode. The reason
yeah.
why I love Hot Ones so much is because they are just, oh god, Sean Evans, that's his name. He's so good with his questions. He's very informative to the point where he'll ask questions that are normally never asked before. So he gets a lot of people that way. He's gotten the Undertaker that way. He's gotten Stone Cold. Even I would watch Stone Cold's episode too. Both were just really entertaining, really good to watch. But anyways, like back to the whole Last Ride documentary. It was so good. It was so good. It's really fun to kind of watch like how these WWE wrestlers go about their business outside of wrestling and just what they do with their own personal lives and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I agree 100%, man. I'll also say with that Last Ride documentary, me and my mom watched it, and she's not that big of a wrestling fan, but she got emotional watching it because Undertaker was one of her favorite guys that she would watch, along with Ric Flair, and just seeing like how they showed his personal life, and that had never been done up to that moment because he was always he wanted to keep what they call in the wrestling business kayfabe. He wanted to like be the character that he was portraying on TV. So you wouldn't see him out and about at Walmart, dressed in like all these different colors. No, if you saw him in real life, he was always very quiet, very, very to himself, dressed in black. He portrayed the character outside the ring just as he did inside the ring. And to see that personal life of his, that was just incredible and like such an emotional watch for me.
Yeah, true that. True that. 100%. That's why I enjoyed that documentary as much as I did, because it really went more into detail of just other stuff other than just The Undertaker. And that's it.
Oh, man, but still, the commitment that a wrestler puts on a lot of those characters, I mean, it really, really goes to show how much effort goes into entertaining an audience for, again, 30 years. I gotta admit, that dedication is incredible.
It is.
Kind of makes me wish that I decided to continue trying to be a wrestler myself, as cringy as that is, but there is no way that I could put in that much effort. So I got a lot of respect for everybody in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Man.
have you guys ever considered becoming wrestlers?
Personally for me, I've always enjoyed like messing around with my older brother as far as just like wrestling shit goes. When we were kids, we used to fuck around a lot like that. And it was pretty fun, man. Like just getting to watch like the Attitude Era, and just PG era was good too, but nothing really beat like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression era. That was it right there. Those two eras were just boom, right on the fucking money. But as far as like actually growing up to become a wrestler, no, I knew there's no way. I personally, I was too small for it. I was way too small for it. There is no chance. So I never really was super into it like that. Especially because I had baseball too and everything else going on. I think baseball was kind of like my set on for what I wanted to do with my life. But no, I mean it was fun though. As a kid, it was definitely fun to kind of just play around, wrestle a little bit. I mean, I'll even fucking say that Miguel and I have wrestled a couple of times, and that shit was pretty fun too. Back when like you had your bigger place and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Me, I with my fantasies of becoming a wrestler or dreams or whatever you'd call them, they were kind of like limited. I knew it was kind of like a far out there possibility. Um, I was obsessed with wrestling growing up and everything, and I always said like, oh my gosh, one day I'm gonna like grow up and I'm gonna go to WrestleMania and retire the Undertaker, because he was my favorite, and I knew the streak had never been beaten before, so I was like, beat the streak and retire him, and pass on the legacy. But those were like closed-minded thoughts of mine, or open-minded, I guess you could say. And I just never pursued them. And then I had a few accidents as a kid. Yeah, I have issues with my legs and my pelvis and my back. Leaves me in extreme pain a lot. So those, if I would have ever achieved those dreams or whatever, I don't think much would have been able to come from those. So yeah, that's kind of mine.
That's fair.
Damn, dude. I did not
Yeah,
know you had went through that massive amount of injuries. I mean, I almost got paralyzed from when I was used to do martial arts.
man. Yeah, I what happened with my legs was when I was a baby, I was at my grandparents and my aunt was watching me.
Hmm.
Well, she took her eyes off me for a split second, and I somehow went into my grandparents' bedroom, and nobody knows what happened. I don't even remember what happened since I was a baby at that time. I fell over and I screamed out and cried in pain. And what happened was that my parents took me to the doctor for that. And they did some X-rays, and they couldn't find what was wrong. Doctors thought there was issues with my pelvis, like it was broken, and then doctors thought my leg had been broken, and then another doctor said that there was nothing wrong with me at all. It was just like the way my blood vein was around my leg that made it look like a break. Oh, okay. Yeah, my tibia. Um, so that was an issue I was dealing with all throughout my life. Still do. I have trouble like climbing stairs. And what happened with my back was in fourth grade, I was playing kickball. Okay,
Oh
thank you.
boy.
Yeah, I was playing kickball, and next thing you know, I try to kick that ball, and I swept my legs out from under me. I went full force on there. It was like a claymore, but I didn't connect with anybody. Uh, For the Drew McIntyre fans out there,
Oh no.
um,
Oh
and
shit.
and I fell straight on my back. I couldn't even get up, man. Like my breath was knocked out of me. I was in tremendous pain. I was out of school for like a week or two from that because I was just like I couldn't move my back. Well, my parents took me to the doctor, and this doctor that was looking over me was old, severely old. He could barely even hear me, and he was trying to find out what was wrong with me. He said there was nothing wrong with me, so he sent me home. Uh, when there clearly was something wrong there with my back. I pulled something or something just went wrong there, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and ever since then, it's felt like my back has been like twisted, like like you know those Fritos, honey barbecue twist Fritos. I
Oh
think
Yeah.
that's what my
no.
back is. Yeah,
Jesus.
so it feels like it at least. So, that's my issues.
Man. Ah. Oh, I'm speechless. That sounds like really painful too. Like twisting, like I'd be crying in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You must be
Dude,
on some really strong painkillers.
I was very much taking a lot of ibuprofen just to try to manage that and leave. So, you know, I dealt with it the way I could, and I'm not taking any medicine for it right now. Um, so I just try to deal with it in a natural sort of way. Because I know like mind over matter, you know what I mean? If my body's matter and I like try to push all those thoughts of pain out of my mind and everything, then maybe it won't correct itself, but it will just alleviate some of that stress and some of the pain that I have in my mind from it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I get you. So it's like I'm trying to remember the name of the patient in the very first Doctor Strange movie, where if the body won't work, then the mind will, and as the mind starts to heal, so does the body over time.
Exactly, man. Great perspective on that one.
I'm trying
Great
to remember
acknowledgement.
I'm trying to remember the name of the doctor. You know what? I'm not even gonna bother trying to look it up because I feel like it's gonna be a big waste. Goes to show that laziness sometimes triumphs.
Yeah.
Which really shouldn't be that big of a issue. Okay. Now I feel like I gotta do it because I gotta commit to it. The freaking laziness and stuff. Okay. Let's see. Doctor Strange. Wait, why did I just say it like that? Freaking Doctor.
Be like Victor.
What am I doing?
Victor.
I need a doctor. Where is my doctor? Oh my god.
Just why, bro? Why?
Oh god. No. I need a doctor from India. He knows the best. He knows.
Be like the dictator.
We do not endorse this.
No.
No, I apologize. I'm sorry. This is just part of my humor sometimes.
Man. Okay, honestly, I'm looking through the entire cast and I cannot find the actor at all. Yeah, well, we'll just leave that for another time.
Fair enough.
And wait. I just lost my train of thought for a second.
I was gonna say, are you good?
Like, have you ever had those moments where you think about something and then the moment it's at the tip of your tongue, all of a sudden it just goes away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
All
I
the
know how
time,
Chucky
man.
felt like. Wait,
Yeah, no.
do you guys even know what I'm referencing right now?
I didn't even know you were referencing something, to be honest.
Wait,
Well,
Chucky.
for towards the end of that last sentence. So, first things first, have you seen, like, besides the Child's Play trilogy, have any of you guys seen any of the other Chucky movies that came after it?
Yeah. Yep.
I unfortunately have not, so you'll have to do a little rerun for me.
Okay, so there were a few other Chucky movies after the original Child's Play trilogy. The movie that I was thinking about specifically is called Seed of Chucky, and there is one scene in which Chucky's just chopping down a door, very similar to the scene in The Shining, but instead of him saying "Here's Chucky," he just looks at, I think it was Tiffany. He just looks at her straight in the eye, starts rolling it for a second, and he's like, I can't think of a thing to say. Fuck.
That's funny.
Dude, I remember that. That was crazy. That was when they were trying to connect Chucky to all the other horror movies too. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Because I remember it all started in Bride of Chucky. You know how they would keep all these like different horror franchises because they were all owned by different studios. They would try to keep them all away from each other.
Yeah.
And then Bride of Chucky came out, and the movie started with Tiffany retrieving the remains of Chucky's doll corpse from the police station. And in that evidence lockup, you could see like Michael Myers' mask, Freddy Krueger's gloves, Jason's mask, Leatherface's chainsaw. And then later on in the movie, Chucky kills somebody by, I guess, like shooting nails into his face or his skull, and he references Pinhead from Hellraiser and says, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yo, there are so many different horror movies that, when you think about it, I don't know how their things are going on in the re-releases, or not the re-releases, the reboots, in which they're trying to so hard to reference it, but uh, it really did start like right around the Bride of Chucky movie, where a lot of these other horror franchises, even though they were made by different studios, they referenced other things.
Yeah.
I mean, well, here's another. Actually, I might have to correct you on that one. I feel like it first started with the Scary Movie franchise, not the. I'm not talking about scary movies in general, but they're the Wayans brothers scary movie parody movies.
Yeah.
You know how when they, well, in the first one of my favorite scenes on there is when Ghostface just shows up out of nowhere, starts killing somebody in the car, and there's a police reporter who's not even trying to help. She's just trying to get like an interview with Ghostface. And Ghostface just starts arguing with them, like, I'm just trying to do my job. You guys are here just wasting my time.
Yep.
And immediately they go from crap. I can't remember what movie they were referencing. I think it was I Know What You Did Last Summer. They went from that to the Blair Witch Project in like a second.
I remember that, man. That reporter was like snotting over the camera and everything. Crazy,
Yeah.
man.
Yo, that movie was so fun. Although,
Yeah.
I feel wait, actually, I'm gonna have to take that back. My favorite scene is when the Ghostface just shows up out of nowhere, and all these guys are just made a bong out of a fish tank. One of them goes, "Oh shit!" Thinking that they were gonna die, but no, he just joins them. Chug, 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 chug. That's some good shit.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm fucking stoned.
Stoned. Yeah, me too, son. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Hey, hey, you guys hear that?
The classic, man. I love Scary Movie, but unfortunately, with that franchise nowadays, stuff
God.
like that won't fly. It's unfortunate.
Well, some of those jokes can still fly, but the problem is how they're executed. The biggest, like after Scary Movie 1 and 2, which were the ones that the Wayans brothers had a lot more influence in, when they left the franchise, excuse me, things went downhill from there. Like the humor just wasn't there anymore.
No.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the only funny scene that I remember from one of the last one, I believe, was Scary Movie 5, in which they're referencing Paranormal Activity. Shut up! No, you shut up, bitch!
Oh yeah.
With the freaking
Yeah.
security system.
Yeah, true.
I remember in Scary Movie 3, I think that was the peak. Well, that they came off of the Wayans brothers hype train with the other Scary Movies. That's the one that they weren't involved in. And Scary Movie 3 referenced like The Ring and like Signs, I believe. And they had Leslie Nielsen. I think that's how you say it, right? Leslie Nielsen or Nielsen.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was the president on there, and I just remember him and the little ring girl from Scary Movie 3. And those were the highlights of that movie for me. And I remember that scene where the aliens invaded and they were trying to like save humanity from the ring girl because they thought they picked up Pootie Tang and instead it was the ring tape on their systems. That's what they said. And they were like, we came to save everybody from an evil little girl, and they had already killed one of the aliens by like slapping their head off with a shovel. And they said the reason they were restraining the human characters was because that's the way they say hello. And then they start doing it to each other. And then they said, "You think that's weird? You should see how we pee." And he pulls out his finger, and here's just a stream of pee coming out of his finger. And Leslie Nielsen says, "Man, well, it's like we're not so different after all." And then he pulls out his finger and does the same thing as the aliens. It was hilarious.
Yo. Yo, those movies were hilarious. Yo, but they also in Scary Movie 3, they also referenced a lot of non-horror movies. Like towards the beginning of the movie, they were heavily referencing 8 Mile.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yo, when crap, I forgot his name. So this one dude who was, I guess, an Eminem parody, he puts up his hood and it looks like a freaking cone. Kind of makes him look like a Klan member.
I remember that.
Everybody just rioted, bro.
Man. Oh my god. And they even referenced American Idol on there too in the rap battle scene. They showed Simon Cowell and he said this club is absolutely pathetic, and they all rained him down with gunshots. Like, it was hilarious, man.
Too good.
Oh man. I love parody movies. Well, not all of them. I'm very picky about them. I think the last parody movie that I've seen, it was another one from the Wayans brothers. Wait, I don't even think this was a parody movie. This was like their own thing. Haunted House. Have you guys seen it?
Oh yeah, I've seen both.
Oh yeah, where your furniture at, cuz?
Bro, dude, okay, the one scene that gets me every time still. It still gets me to this day. But funny enough, this will be a fucking wrestling reference because motherfucking Mark Henry up in this bitch in the fucking prison cell straight up goes, "Hang up that computer call, come over and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical." And I'm just sitting there fucking dying, bro. That shit killed me 100%. And then, but what's funny is, like, I didn't recognize that it was Mark Henry right off the bat. It actually kind of took me a minute, and I was like, wait, is that Mark fucking Henry? So I looked this shit up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's him. That's even funnier. That's even more hilarious.
Oh my god.
Dude, the fucking poor Perez is just getting fucked by Mark Henry.
What we missed in Scary Movie 3 through 5, we made up for in the Haunted House. I really wish they kept on making those because those were hilarious. You know, from the first one referencing like I forgot that movie, but I think it was like The Possession or something like that, and they referenced Paranormal Activity. And then in the sequel, they referenced The Conjuring and Sinister, and that was pretty funny, man. Like seeing all the when they were referencing Sinister, you could see like the killer on the tapes, and he was trying his best to kill these people, but he failed miserably. Oh man, like when they were trying to reference that hanging scene from Sinister, he was up on the tree branch trying to snap that thing so they would hang, and here he is jumping on it, and then he slips off and kills himself.
Oh god. I feel like this is the perfect time to say, just because you quote unquote can do something doesn't mean you should do it, because you're gonna fail miserably.
Pretty much.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Now, I mean, okay, can we talk about the fact though that, man, Sinister 2 was good too, but Sinister 1, man, like that was some underrated, like good ass fucking scary movie shit in my opinion, excuse me. I didn't know what to think about it initially when I first watched it with my mom, but as the fucking shit went on, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of good. Oh shit. And then just so much of it was just so good. The storyline was great. The acting was really good. There's a lot of there was a lot of points. I almost said ports. What the fuck is wrong with me? There was almost a lot of points in the movie where I actually was getting kind of scared, bro. Their soundtrack was really, really good too. That was kind of another big thing. Like they didn't really mess around with that. But yeah, just
Sinister's one of
such a
those
good movie.
underrated horror movies. I mean, here's the thing about horror movies. Apparently, the reason why a lot of studios crank out so many, which is why you see a lot of them in like the dollar sections over at the Walmart, is because horror movies are the cheapest movies that can be made. Like,
Oh,
if you're lucky, you can put in like, a budget can be set to like 100,000 to about 1 million, and you might end up walking away with 9 million. Like, you almost triple, sometimes 5 times the investment. Like with Paranormal Activity, that one right there was not even that was made on a very low budget. It was never supposed to be a hit, but when it came out, it was really popular because nobody has ever, with the exception of the Blair Witch Project, the found footage movies have never been like as big until Paranormal Activity came out, and then everybody else tried. I feel like the found footage genre, in my opinion, is one of those genres which uh is very difficult to get right. It's a very niche thing. You gotta be in a very set environment. What made Paranormal Activity so interesting was because it was literally just based off of the video cameras that were inside of a house. That was like the core thing. And with Blair Witch Project, which is one of my favorites, they were all just documenting their stuff, and obviously that's where a lot of this ended up happening. I feel like one of those, a movie that I really like, it's a found footage movie, is called Apollo 18. Do you guys even remember hearing about it?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
was
that right,
so sorry for interrupting you.
you're good. Continue.
Yeah, I was gonna point out with Apollo, I think it was 13 you said. That
Apollo
was
18.
about the Apollo 18. Okay. Uh, they uh, they tried to land on the moon, and this was like an undocumented like rescue or like Mars or moon mission. And then next thing you know, like they came in contact with some sort of alien rock, right? That like killed them. I'm pretty sure something
Hmm.
like that, right? Okay, I was thinking of the right one then. I was making sure about that one, but as you were.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously that movie didn't really do all that great, but the uh concept that it had was really interesting, and it would have worked. It actually works really well because the technology that they had at the time, when the movie was set, not when it was being produced and released, uh, it honestly felt like it could have been like an actual thing. Like, this is the reason why we never went back, hence the tagline. And here's another thing about it. So I didn't know about this because I only ever saw it in Western releases, but apparently that movie has 5 different endings depending on which region you watch it in.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
4 of those endings involves everybody dying. One of those endings involves somebody actually surviving. But because, they were trying to pull like an alien thing where they wanted to try to study and weaponize the creature that they found, they never let that guy go and just like did horrible experiments on the dude.
Wow, man, that's some dark stuff, man.
That's really dark.
Girl.
Dude, it makes you think with stuff like that because like with like things like Area 51 and like these missions to outer space that sometimes aren't recorded. Like, do you remember the last like drone we sent up there? Like it's kind of hard to keep track of those things. The government, many believe that the government does keep secrets from us and stuff, and I think movies playing on that fear and that paranoia of like what's out there, what do we not know about it, and like what is like the government or the people over us, what are they hiding from us? That is a really really big thing to play on and an interesting thing to focus on with a horror film.
Well, yeah, not
For that.
only with well, not just with potentially governments or even like a corporation, but it could also be good within like an industry standard. Well, here's another movie that I really like. I know for a fact that you haven't seen it, Laine, but have you ever seen David the movie Perfect Blue?
Perfect Blue, and I've heard of it. I have not gotten around to seeing it yet.
Okay, so it's one of those horror movies that it came out like way in the late 90s. It's an animated movie from Japan, so there's no English dubbing. It's all English translations and stuff like that. But it holds up really well. So the overall concept of it, it's about an idol who retires from singing and starts pursuing a career in acting.
Yeah.
What makes it so terrifying is just, well, as we're getting older, and it back in those days where your image was everything, in this day and age, those words are actually a lot more true. They hold a lot more value. People only ever see the outside, which is what is presented via, let's say, a VTuber, or let's say your profile picture on like Twitter or Facebook. Like people are only ever going to see the outside, but they're never going to see what it is that you are on the inside. And that's one of the biggest fears that the main protagonist has. It also doesn't help that she has a stalker who is obsessed with her being an idol, that he wants nothing to do with her being an actress, because he feels like that's not who she is, but obviously he doesn't know her. The whole thing is just like a complete mind trip, and there's no paranormal stuff, there's no slasher elements. It's just a full-on psychological horror film that is really, really good. I highly recommend anybody like watches it. But I'm also gonna mention something. So it's very famous, or I could say infamous as well, because there's this one scene that everybody who's seen it is gonna tell you about it, talk about it, involving a screwdriver. That's all I'm gonna say. It's one of those things that once you watch it, it's never gonna leave your head, like at all.
Usually those movies
have
are
an
the
idea.
best.
Yep.
Man, sounds very interesting. I'll definitely check that out when I get the chance to. But yeah, with like things like that and your image, and like your reputation nowadays, like if people have like your username on here, or like on Facebook or Twitter, or like your real name and everything, they can hold power over you, because they can like dig through your history, pull out stuff that you might regret or like might not even remember, and that stuff comes back to haunt you. So like that is a perfect like representation for what we go through today with like cancel culture and just society in general,
Dude, that's what makes Perfect Blue even more terrifying nowadays, just because of how true all that stuff is.
Yeah, man. And as you were saying, it was a Japanese animated horror film.
Yes.
Yeah, the Japanese really have like a huge mind for when it comes to like horror in general. Like from like movies to anime to video games, they have such a unique take on horror that, like, when people like us Western audiences, when we see Japanese horror portrayed over here, it kind of sticks with us. Like, for example, I know we've already mentioned this with Scary Movie,
Hmm.
but the Ringu in Japan, as it's known.
I thought it
Um,
was known as Juon.
no, Ju-on is the Grudge.
Oh, right.
Um,
My bad.
yeah, which I'm having a hard time thinking which one came out first, the Grudge or the Ring. I've always thought it was the Ring that came out first, but I could be wrong about that. But I know the Ring was a major hitter in Japan. Like when that thing came out, when the film came out, and people were able to see Sadako, which is the ghost, the murderous ghost from the film, where she would come out of the TV after your 7 days was up from watching that videotape. She cursed. Uh, she uh, she became like a Japanese icon, like straight away, man, and like her ghostly image of like the long hair draped over her face, over her eyes, and like her ghostly appearance really affected uh, what Western audiences had, and then they started to remake those Japanese films for us here in America. Like, for example, The Ring, when that came out. I'm pretty sure they remade it in like 2003, maybe, or 2002.
I think so.
Um, yeah, and that they basically made it shot for shot the same, but changed a little bit of the story elements and released it worldwide. And The Ring was a hit. And then they got Ju-on's The Grudge over here too. And Sam Raimi, who people might know as the director of the Spider-Man trilogy, the original with Tobey Maguire, and the Evil Dead franchise with Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams. Uh, he directed the first Grudge movie, and those films became like hits. And that was when all these big horror films, like the slashers, were getting remakes left and right. So we had remakes of Japanese classics, and we had remakes of slasher horror icons like Freddy and Jason and Michael with Rob Zombie, that sort of stuff. So it really, Japanese really stood beside what we have here in America. Just those ones are lesser known nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's like a specific
True.
niche for Japanese media itself. Anime itself is becoming a lot more popular here in the West, which is a good thing because it means that more and more people are getting access to anime and also using that as like an introduction to other forms of Japanese media. In which case, or not in which case, in my case, that also introduced me to a lot more of the Japanese music, Japanese rock band specifically, as well as a lot more of the movies that they produce. One that I remember watching, I can't remember what its original name is, but its translation is Killer Instinct. Not to be confused with the fighting game. The whole thing is pretty much it's kind of like a survival game. The best thing that I could describe it is the whole thing. It just takes a bunch of random people just end up waking up inside of an abandoned school. There's no way to get out of the school. There's a timer that's counting down to 3 days, and the only things that they have are a blue tarp, a hacksaw, and a food processor. That's literally it, and that's all they have. And in those 3 days, everybody just starts going ape shit. It's nuts. That's me putting it in the most tame way possible. Because there are so many scenes that, well, there's also a manga. They did not hold back on a lot of the scenes that were in the manga. They reenacted everything left and right, which honestly begs the question: just who exactly has the best horror elements in general? Because I feel like Japan is definitely up there with what they can produce. It's gnarly. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And
man, I agree 100%. But as you were saying, Lane.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's hard because with America, for example, uh, one of my favorite movie series as far as scary movies goes is like The Conjuring, for example. There have been like a good handful of movies I feel like America's made for sure, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like you've been saying, Miguel. It's like they got their own little fucking zing to what they do as far as getting movies out and all that stuff goes. So I just think Japan just knows what they're doing a little bit better, just a wee bit better, and that's okay. But also to answer your question from earlier, The Ring did come out first before The Grudge.
Oh, you look it up?
Yeah, it was only like it's only by a couple of years, but yeah, no, at first it was The Grudge. Or wait, sorry, I'm like reading shit and talking at the same time. That's not helping. The Ring came out first, 1998, and then I think The Grudge, like 2 or 3 years afterwards, came out.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, there's a little trivia for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like we were talking with like Japanese like horror films and like anime and like culture in general, and how they have a really big grasp on horror. I will just say this, okay? 3 of the biggest horror franchises in gaming today are Japanese based, Japanese made. And the franchises I was talking about are Fatal Frame, which I'm not too familiar with, but I know it's huge over there in Japan, and it does have a intense focus of ghosts. And then we also have Silent Hill, which most people should know. Some people don't, which is kind of unfortunate, but Silent Hill is a really great psychological horror video game franchise.
It's amazing.
Absolutely, man. And like even just talking about Silent Hill, you can have a deep dive of like what's going on in the story there. And then you also have probably the biggest horror gaming franchise ever. And this also like appeals to casual people, which is crazy to think about because like people who don't like horror video games or just horror in general, they're excited about this about a new release to this gaming franchise, and that gaming franchise I'm talking about is Resident Evil.
Yeah, Resident Evil is really popular even amongst like people that don't play horror games. People forget that the Resident Evil franchise is in itself a horror game, but with the constant expansions to the Resident Evil universe, it eventually just lost its horror. It didn't lose its horror roots. That's a little too strong, but it just created its own niche in the horror genre. It created a horror action hybrid, which is really impressive. Well, here's another horror game that I personally really like. Well, it's one that you can't play anymore. It's which is for it's for a really good reason. So there's this one game that was developed by Capcom called Haunting Ground. So
I remember it. Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Haunting Ground is a really good game. It's really deep in its emphasis, but I do not think that it's going to get a remaster or a re-release because as good as that game is, there are a lot of topics in there that are just extremely, extremely graphic. There's a lot of really gory scenes in there, and there is another scene in there that I'm not going to talk about. But let's just say if you've been around the horror genre long enough and you've actually played Haunting Ground, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
curious to know, honestly. I'm going to probably look this up later.
Nah,
I'll send you
that.
a review for it. But if you really do want to play it for some reason, good luck, because finding copies for that, it was released on a PlayStation 2. It was a PS2 exclusive. And good luck finding them, because they are very rare.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually okay. That's really funny you bring that up. I was looking at a list, just like I was like on Google Chrome, just kind of looking at random articles and shit. And one of them was talking about rare PlayStation 2 games, and one of them was Haunting Ground. And yeah, so that's pretty crazy. Now to mention that, I was like, okay, but
Man.
yeah, that's
Dude,
crazy.
I wish I still had my copy too.
Yeah, I think it
Dude.
costs quite a fucking bit.
Oh yeah, man. Like the PS2 games like Silent Hill, some of the Silent Hill games that were released on PS2 are a fortune to buy online. I've tried. I've wanted to like I got a PS2 a few years ago in hopes that I could buy a Silent Hill original game from there, like Silent Hill 2 or 3 or 4. I couldn't because they are so pricey. Like we're talking $400, $500, $600 online. Haunting Ground, as you said, with it being so rare and so hard to find, that's crazy. And the same goes for another Japanese-based horror game. I'm pretty sure it's Japanese-based, anyways. Have you ever heard of Rule of Rose? Possibly.
I haven't.
Okay.
Wait, before you continue, I looked up Haunting Grounds. The minimum price that it's currently selling for right now is $820.
Jesus, man.
Insane.
Dang.
Continue.
But yeah, Rule of Rose. It's more or less like a psychological horror video game, and it's very. It has a weird mixture of themes in it. Like sometimes it comes off as comedic, like a satirical of horror, and then other times it's like very disturbing, like the and in this video game, I'm pretty sure there is this college age female character that you play as, and she's having like psychological trauma from her childhood. Don't quote me on that one, but I think that's how the story goes. And she goes into this world, or this psyche of hers, where all of these kids are like kings and queens, and like they have their own kingdom, and like it's like make believe, but it's like real. It's reality in this game. And these kids that are king and queen, they basically sentence these other kids into punishments. And I remember seeing a clip on YouTube of them shoving this little girl in a bag and filling the bag up with like bugs and like insects that children should not be exposed to, and left inside of a bag with like leeches and stuff like that, and like maggots. And yeah, I really just wanted to point that out, like, because I do know that has an emphasis on Japanese horror too, possibly, and psychological horror, and that one is also hard to find.
Well, I was able to find a few, but those are going for like, let's see, a pre-owned version is going to run you around $820. And if you want to get it directly imported from Japan, which surprisingly enough has a lot of the copies, you're looking at $495.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's
Man.
crazy.
Yeah.
This is definitely a situation where it's like if I had a ton of money in my bank account and I didn't have to worry about like high payments on anything, I would 100% do it. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, bro, damn.
Yeah. I honestly, and as we were talking about like Capcom and Konami,
Mhm.
with Evil and Silent Hill, I'm just thankful that nowadays they're doing like modern remakes of these games. So like generations who weren't able to play those games back in the day, like in 1998 and 1999, and those copies are obviously hard to come by nowadays. Uh, Now that Konami and Capcom are remaking Silent Hill and Resident Evil for a modern audience, I think that's really helpful for allowing people to have those first time experiences with those games.
True. Very true.
Yeah, looking at all these games, it really brings back a lot of memories. I mean, even going through some of the reviews and stuff, yeah, they don't have that great of a review, but that's because a lot of the stuff that was in those games uh wasn't exactly stuff that people should have been exposed to.
Yeah,
Hence why they I'm pretty sure all of them were labeled rated M for mature. I'm If not, okay, yeah, I do see the copies. They all have either the rated M for mature label on them or the Peggy 18 rating on it. They should have they should have expected a lot. Well, they should have expected that from these games.
yeah.
True.
You know, those games back in the day, like Haunting Ground and Silent Hill 2, for example, um, those touched on a lot of subjects and topics that weren't like forefront, but they were like kind of like in the background of the story playing out. Like, for example, Silent Hill 2, it had a lot to do with grief and like depression and frustrations of certain natures. I'm not going to say the word, but obviously people can like look at the different examples of frustrations and see what I get at. Um, those are topics that are like more explored nowadays in our culture with like our films and everything, and like A24 horror films like Midsommar and Hereditary, movies that have like these emphases on depression and anger and like frustrations and grief. And I think those games kind of paved the way a little bit for what we have nowadays in horror and the more psychological aspects of it.
True.
The
Very
thing
true.
about those games as well is that they don't try to romanticize any of those feelings. They just lay them out as they are, which hits even harder.
Yeah. Like Silent Hill 2. So sorry, I'm bringing this up as an example all the time, but like that's one of my favorite games of all time. Um, James Sunderland, who is the main character, he is going on this quest to try to find his wife, who he knew died 3 years ago. But in the storyline, he got a letter recently from Mary, his wife, that told him that she was in Silent Hill in their special place, and it's that whole idea of wanting to see her again, and just like the grief and depression that he had from her death, and he wants to go to Silent Hill in search for her, and then all the while in the background, there's these other characters that are going through their own journeys in Silent Hill, like Angela, this woman named Angela, and she was assaulted by her own family. And that has a big part in her story because she's severely depressed. That comes into uh, a focal point in the story where James is trying to plead with her not to do things that would otherwise be horrible on herself and others. And then there's another character named Eddie, and he is like very self-hating. He thinks that he's obese. You know, he's more like chubby and everything. And even the slightest thing that James says to him in the story kind of ticks him off. And he's always found in these awkward positions around dead bodies in Silent Hill. And James questions if he kills those people or those bodies. And Eddie says no. And then just that story of going through it is like a journey in and of itself. And that is like some of the topics that are like featured prevalently in horror today, like depression and obesity and everything.
Yeah. A thing about, I know we've already talked about, we're talking about Silent Hill and how it's a really great franchise. I know there's going to be that person, so I'm just going to say it right off the bat. Whatever you do, do not watch the Silent Hill movie. Or like don't even watch like any of the Silent Hill movies at all, because they are not loyal to the games as they are. My advice is to either play the games if you're lucky enough to find them, because, well, yeah, they are going to get re-released, so definitely play the games. And even if you don't want to play the games, just read reviews and read little summaries. That is going to be a whole lot better than watching the movies as well. Same thing for like the other franchises that we talked about. Resident Evil, don't watch any of the movies.
Yeah, they're awful.
They're terrible. Don't
Yeah,
watch any of the
man.
movies. Just play the games or read summaries.
Yeah. And even what you say, like don't watch any of the movies and everything, I'd say steer clear of the Resident Evil franchise, because those films that they came out with and recently the Netflix show are terrible, terrible examples of adapting a great video game story. Don't watch any of those. But I will say, I will say that I do disagree to a certain extent with you about watching the Silent Hill movies. Don't watch the second one, more specifically. That is a terrible movie. But the first one, I actually kind of like, you know? I think it has a brilliant like direction, but I will agree with you that sometimes it does like stray away from the main story of what the games try to present.
Yeah. Oh, and to any other game developers out there, I know that you're trying to play it safe because you're trying to make your money and you're trying to, well, please everybody. But if you're gonna be making a horror game, stop giving a shit about giving people PTSD. Like, give animate everything. That way, you can have a really deep impact in a player.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid to give the audience PTSD. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Looking at Bloober Team that is developing Silent Hill 2 remake right now.
Apparently, well, I just pulled up an article. They're re-envisioning Silent Hill, so they're not Silent Hill 2, so they're not gonna be adapting the original Silent Hill 2. They're gonna be completely changing up the script.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it is not looking great.
man, I had high hopes for that too. I'm kind of what they call a Bloober Team apologist, except when it comes to the medium. But people who's played the medium know exactly what I'm talking about for why I do not apologize for that game and what Bloober Team did. But all the other games, man, I kind of had high hopes for Silent Hill. Damn.
It'd be
That's
like that.
unfortunate.
Oh
Man.
man, there goes another one. Well, on the bright side, at the very least, with the first Silent Hill faithfully adapted, just play that.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to play the original Silent Hills if you can, but since they're so hard to find and purchase, I'd say we're stuck with the HD collection. So apologies for that, but you know, it ain't our
is
fault.
what it is.
If
It is
anything,
what it is.
if anything, you might get lucky and you might find some gameplay of somebody else playing on YouTube.
Yeah. Binge watch those.
Yeah,
That
just
gives
binge
you a
watch
better.
those.
Yeah. And look at the Silent Hill wiki too, or however you say it, wiki. Look at that, read up on the lore and like what the themes of the characters were, because like Silent Hill has a very deep story that is like beneath the surface. So what you might take away from the gameplay and like the story itself, you might find in looking at criticisms of the characters and the wiki, which is more elaborated on.
Definitely great advice right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
look at the wikis, read articles, read reviews, watch gameplay if you can find it of the original games to understand that we're talking about. Stay away from specific media the media that we've established that you should stay away from, and give these games, give this content a chance, because especially if you're really big into horror and you want to get something maybe either a throwback if you're already familiar with this, or a new perspective if you've only ever been exposed to the modern stuff and not anything that is classic. And if you could take anything away, just take our suggestions. It's up to you whether or not you want to look it up or not, but we highly recommend everything that we're talking about, all the franchises, all the contents. And well, now I'm running out of things to say, so I guess we should probably wrap up this episode right now.
Yep. Sounds good
All
to me.
right. All right. Well, that's gonna have to be the end of this. Wrestling with terror, I guess. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Miguel Enygma Perez. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm also on Threads at it's Miguel_Perez on everything.
Sorry.
That's your cue.
No, and I'm Laine Colins. Obviously, you can follow me on Instagram. I always forget there's always one other one, but Instagram is like kind of the main account. You can follow me there, check out what I'm posting, whatnot, and that's pretty much it.
Yep. And I'm David, and you can follow me or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Even though I have not posted anything, I'm hoping to change that within the next year. DeadmanDavid is my name on YouTube, or DeadmanDave2077. And on Twitter, which I just like and repost on Twitter, my name on there is DeadmanDaveRave. So find me, follow me, whatever you'd like to do. It was great for Laine and Miguel to have me, and I appreciate you guys so much for giving me this platform to speak.
Welcome, man. We got you.
It was our pleasure. And I'm already looking you up. I'm already subscribing. You guys should definitely subscribe to Deadman Dave. I almost stuttered. I saved myself at the last minute. Well, that's one way to end it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.